Welcome to another episode of That Marketing Show, brought to you by First Doctor, creating healthcare professional leaders. Let's talk today about the penguin. This was the tweet that went around the world, October 4th, 4:55 p.m. Matt Cutts, General Supreme Leader of Google's SEO spam team, said that the Google Penguin 2.1 had officially rolled out. This was the largest and potentially the most destructive SEO algorithm change that we've seen so far. It affected probably 60 to 70% of the sites generally. That's what we found talking to other webmasters as well. The challenge is, okay, now what do you do? Some went up, some went down. We'll go through some examples at the very end here, but what I want to show you is the cause, right? So, great, Google rolls out an algorithm. What causes penalties? Why would people be affected, either positively or negatively, or mostly negatively, obviously? But there's a backstory here that you have to also understand, is that you have to remember Google's a for-profit company. They had lost money in AdWords. That's right. They actually went retrograde and had a lower quarter in AdWords. So they're actually losing the momentum of the ship. So there was a big incentive for Google to look at the SEO community and say, what can we do to make sure that we get people to be aware that gaming our system is not part of the plan anymore at all. And this backlinking business and linking to all these sites and trying to game our system is done. And so that's not done, but it's just changed. But I think the reality here is, let's look at what causes the penguin penalty, and then we'll look at some examples of both positive and negative aspects at the end of the video. So, top 10 issues with penguin. Anchor text jamming. Yeah, man, we're jamming our anchor text. Listen, number one thing, if you look at a link profile of a site and it is just absolutely all the same anchor text, especially if you see nothing other than anchor text, you're going to get hit with a penguin. It's just, that is the biggest single signal to Google to say that you're jamming anchor text into your links. It's completely unnatural. Nobody links with 15 different times the same keyword. It just doesn't look natural. It's the first thing they find. Second, link quality issues. Links to profiles and directory links and all of these links that have really low quality, don't really give a good story about why someone would link to your site from these low quality sites. Second trigger in this penguin. And again, this is stuff that's been told thousands of times by Google that they're going to do this. This is the first time they actually went deep. And they did it in a way that even people who had good sites and had never done SEO before were affected. So this is the stuff where there was a lot of head scratching. There's still a lot of head scratching to try and figure out how to now look at a prevent defense to go back into some of these sites that are affected, and what do you do? Poor site quality, probably the third and most important thing. People who have just never taken their site out for a real, under the hood, make sure it's done well, all the meta tags and H1 tags and, server time, webmaster tools, errors, all the things that basically tell Google you're not paying attention. You're not providing a good experience for the customer. You're not telling me what needs to be found when I search for your site. This is really one that I think affected a lot of people, because we came back in a lot of results after we fixed some sites for this issue. Bad bounce rate. One of the things Google is probably most importantly looking at is how crappy sites are. So if they get to the site, they bounce off, bad site, right? So evident. All the Chrome browsers, all of the Android, they have so much data now. They can tell whether or not your site is a piece of junk or not. So if you have a piece of junk site, it's time to come to 2013 and say, I need a real site. I need to have a good site. It needs to be valuable. Next thing is the previous penalties unresolved. So if you had penalties that were unresolved from the last go round of Penguin 2.0, and you didn't fix them, now you got hammered because they told you basically, hey, we hammered you in the last one, you didn't fix it, so we're going to go run the whole same algorithm again plus some additional stuff, and it's not fixed. Those people got slammed. And also, you actually would sometimes have a unnatural linking penalty or whatever on your website that will tell you this, and you can look in your webmaster tools. Specific sector issues. We noticed that retail specifically got really whacked. So if you had a site that was maybe a competitor against a big retailer, you got hit because it looked at like the value chain between big retailers and small retailers and said, you guys are small, you don't have a lot of traffic compared to all these rest of these guys. They're getting, there's tons of activity on these other sites, and they just re-ranked everything. And this is a death knell for these small businesses. Unfortunately, it's just part of life. They're really pushing out, these smaller local businesses and letting the Walmarts and the Sears and all these people who spend billions of dollars with pay-per-click with Google in as, sort of preferred. This is our interpretation, but I think that that's really what's happening is that they're looking at the real players and saying, hey, these guys pay us a lot of money to be here. Low traffic, no traffic. Sites that had really low traffic or had no traffic and were held up by these links only, and they just had like, a couple people hitting their site a month or 20 or 30, they got basically pushed way down because Google's also going to look at activity. Why should someone come to the site? Why are they first, second, or third, or fourth, or fifth when there's other sites that have got hundreds and hundreds or thousands and thousands of hits compared to this guy who's got nothing? So low traffic. Again, that goes back to the pay-per-click model, where if you're pushing pay-per-click traffic to your site, it gets traffic. It looks important to Google. So again, feeds right back to the machine of saying, well, a lot of these people who have gotten slammed in SEO are going right to pay-per-click because they have no choice. Really, in a situation that this is kind of the changing of the guard of SEO, which is it needs to really be content driven because you've got to now, humans have to be the differentiator between you have a good site and a halfway decent site and a poor site. Too many links from similar hosts. So what we're seeing also is that Google's saying, hey, why, if you have a lot of links and supposedly you're important, then you have a lot of these links, why are they from the same hosting environment? Why are they from the same website? So there's a lot of technical pieces here that tell Google, hey, why would you have so many links from this same server bank or this same group of IP addresses? It just doesn't make sense. It wouldn't be natural for that to happen. Or the same amount of links from all these similar sites. So there's also an algorithm that's running in the background that's looking at the technical aspects of the foundation of the servers. Time on site and bounce rate per search engine results. So it's looking at, if your time on site is really low, so people come to your site and they're like, nah, I'll spend like 30 seconds here and I'm gone, right? And also so they come in under search results, so let's say they query, red blue jeans or blue jeans, and that you bounce right off for that keyword because people either can't find it or there's just bad information. They're looking at the bounce rate per search result. So there's a lot of, again, a lot of technical pieces here, a lot of basic pieces, but I think one that's really not even talked about is social signals, and especially sharing with Google+. So we are seeing social signals, Google+ shares, as something that's bringing people up. So if you've got an active social profile, some of these things will be negated. And in fact, I've seen people with horrible anchor text and really bad link quality issues, they didn't drop at all because they had a ton of G+ shares and they had good traffic and they had decent volume from all the rest of their search results were clean, meaning that people were going to the site and staying, even though they had these crappy, horrible anchor text profiles. So I think there's an algorithm in here that runs between all of these items, and I think if you click off too many, then you get hit. Especially the anchor text. That seems to be the first one that picks it up. But although we've seen people who do have, these quality issues, I would call, but have all of the other things covered. So they're getting lots of traffic. People are staying on their site, and it kind of negates out this issue. So there's got to be something that's running here that's basically saying, there's a check mark of imbalance or imbalance, and it will say, Google's algorithm will say, hey, if you've got a lot of these things wrong, then buy. If you've got some of these things wrong, well, we'll test out, see if these other things make sense. And then if you've got, all of these things correct, then you're stellar. So let's take a look at some examples.
Let's quickly go through some examples of being hit by this new update. And we'll go over negative one first, we'll go positive, and then we'll show you one that's a recovery. So in this particular case, we have this is not our client anymore. We actually had them during the spring and into an early part of the summer. They decided not to continue. They hired somebody internally to do their marketing, and we told them that they had to be careful, that there's a lot of things that we were doing that were multi-strategies, and that if they don't do what we've asked them to do, this is what's going to happen, is that they literally did not do the content work that needed to be done to support these keywords. So this is 3 or 4 months of sort of being stabilized, where we had them reached green is on page 1, so they had about roughly 10 terms on page 1, and these are all, you can see now they're all gone, they're all done, they're on page 5 now. This red represents anything beyond page 5. So you can see on October 4th, the algorithm went through. It affected them dramatically. We'll probably get a call back by the end of this month to reinitialize with them, because this is pretty much indicative of it's not even a backlink issue. I think it's just in general. I look at this as Ahrefs, which you can go on if you would like to yourself, and you can take a look at your own backlinks. But I'm looking at this as like 500 backlinks. I don't see anything in here that's like crazy out of just looks like a regular backlink. There's nothing strange here. I think it's a combination of just not showing your digital footprint in multiple places. I never really was able to get the handle around why they wouldn't continue with us, but obviously I think these are the things where you need a good SEO to help you get through now fixing these problems, because things weren't taken care of up front. Now let's take a look at our own SEO so you can see what happened on October 4th for us. Okay, so this is October 1st, this is October 12th, here's October 4th. We went up. So we went up 39 positions, we went up 45 positions, 27, 50, keeps going up, 89, 89. So now we're number 1 for a lot of these spots, or we're raised up for a lot of the spots for like New Jersey SEO firm, and obviously we would have a lot of number 1, number 2, number 3 placements on the front page here for the terms. And I'm not necessarily clear as to why we're up there, because there's a lot of competition in this space, and I think it comes down to that we continually publish content and it gets shared. Especially gets shared in, it doesn't get shared a lot, but gets shared enough. So let's take a look at a account that got hit, and now we're working on an aggressive turnaround. All right, so here's an account that in the beginning, September 16th, we'll just take it back, kind of going up, 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 up. We started doing SEO for them, up 99, up, 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 up. Now up like 2,400 positions off of many, many, many keywords. And now, bam, they got slammed. So they were up this much, now they're down. Down 623. But as you can see, here's the recovery. So we rebuilt parts of the site. We reinitialized a big content push, and here it comes back up. So there's something and now we're up to October 16th. They're up, 635 positions above where we started a month ago. So it came back. So there is recovery opportunity here. Of course, there's, this type of stuff does need to continue to be worked on, but I think it's really coming down to massive content delivery and sharing of that content socially. I think that's what, and I mentioned this in number 10, I think that's where this is going to have to end up at the end of the day. There are a lot of pieces of the puzzle. There's a lot of, corrections that need to be addressed, but that seems to be the thing that kick-started having this get raised back up. All right. Hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll see you in the next one.